Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to read from Psalms 51, verses 15 to 17. It says, O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall bring your praises. For you did not desire sacrifice, else I would give it. You did not desire burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O Lord, you will not despise. Do good in your good pleasure unto Zion, and build the walls of Jerusalem. Then you shall be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then they can offer sacrifices upon your altar. This was King David after he had had an affair with Bathsheba and killed her husband. And the Lord had found him out. And he said it didn't really matter how much sacrifices he gave if his heart wasn't regretful of what he did and wanting to change and make things right. So that's where David was coming from. Let's look at Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot recently in China spoke about the character, and some outlets called it the retconning of the character, in which Gal said that she wanted to speak honestly. And she said in the creative process, the character in Batman v Superman was not fully actualized or realized by her, but in Wonder Woman it was. She goes to say that when she said in Batman v Superman that 100 years ago she walked away from mankind, Wonder Woman would never do such a thing. In fact, Wonder Woman went to mankind to save them, and therefore she would never give up on mankind. Now, let me just make it abundantly clear. When I heard Diana say in Batman v Superman, 100 years ago, I walked away from mankind, an era of horrors, mankind made a world where standing together is impossible, that I didn't read into that statement that she had abandoned mankind. In fact, she never said that. She said she walked away from mankind. And if you look at Diana and her present position, even when she's in the Louvre, she's mostly alone and by herself. She has no friends of mankind like she did in Wonder Woman the movie. She doesn't seem to have any close associations with anyone. So I would say this. If she did not walk away from mankind, that is, well, let's put it this way. There was World War One. We know that Wonder Woman was directly involved in the ending of World War One, and she literally proclaimed herself to the world. She unsheathed herself and went as Wonder Woman. But notice after that, after the war, she concealed herself from the world, and she moved around as Diana. And only a handful of people knew about Diana. In fact, in the epilogue section where Etta Candy has a mission, it's Etta Candy carrying out a mission with Steve Trevor's companions, and Diana is nowhere to be found. Here's the other interesting things I would like to mention. Diana was not, or seemingly is not, involved in World War II, which happened. Now, to be fair to Diana, she does say at the end of her movie that no hero can save men from the choices they make, and therefore no hero can really save the world. She says, I used to want to save the world. She also goes on to say, I wanted to end all war and bring peace, and she realized that she couldn't do so. But there is no account of Diana's activity in World War II. We know that she had an account of her actions in World War I, but we have no information about her acting in World War II. It's very interesting. The other thing is, notice that Diana, even at the end of Wonder Woman, does not proclaim herself to the world. The world doesn't know her as Wonder Woman, or even as Diana, this powered being. She does not declare herself to the world. And so, in that respect, I think that she, according to her words, she left mankind. I would say she left mankind to their devices. She was still in the background actively working, but as most people, especially proponents of the DCU would say, she simply left mankind to their devices, and she interfered less in mankind's devices, knowing that she couldn't, with one act, end all war and make mankind all good. But she talked about fighting, how she would stay and fight with mankind. She didn't try to leave the world and go back to Themyscira. She stayed and persevered. And she did, in her own small way, do things to try to assist mankind. But she never, as she said, she left mankind. She never really participated wholly to try to save mankind from themselves. She just did her part. So that's what I got from BvS. Otherwise, if Diana didn't leave mankind, as she said 100 years ago, in an era of horrors, and clearly it was an era of horrors for her. She learned about, all the devices mankind had to kill one another and stuff, and then Steve died in that time too. So it was an era of horrors for her. But nonetheless, I think that Gal Gadot, if she's saying that, she's actually undermining Justice League, and she's actually undermining Batman v Superman. Because what you're saying is, if Diana didn't abandon mankind, then she should be teaming up with Batman. She should have teamed up with all the other members of the Justice League, which means the Justice League should have been there before Batman v Superman, which means there's no reason to have the Justice League movie. You see? That's it makes it completely contradictory. So I don't think it was, I think Gal's misunderstanding what was actually written in Batman v Superman. The point wasn't that she abandoned mankind, but she left mankind to their devices, and she wasn't trying to be the savior of mankind. She wasn't trying to save them anymore, because she realized that only love could save the world. So she was more in the background, doing her part where she could, to help mankind see and actualize the good in themselves. That's what I got, which is the reason why she jumped in when she saw Batman was in trouble and saved him from Doomsday. And when she realized Doomsday was a real threat, she got herself involved. That's typical of Wonder Woman, and which is, it lays the backdrop, it lays the background for Patty Jenkins doing a movie again, another period piece of Wonder Woman, where she's involved again, but again in a covert fashion. She's not overtly trying to declare to the world who she is as Wonder Woman. If she does that, then it means the world would have known about Wonder Woman just as how the world knew about Superman. But the world that has been made and has been created to form the DCEU, the world only knows about Superman. The world doesn't really know about the Flash. Some criminals know about the Flash because, we have Argus with Amanda Waller, who's been studying these metahumans. But if you're not studying metahumans and you're not really looking at for that kind of activity, the world is not. They're oblivious of Wonder Woman. The only thing the world knows about in terms of superheroes is Superman. They don't even know about Wonder Woman still. She's still in the background, hidden away. But at the end of the Justice League movie, the world's going to know about Wonder Woman. The world's going to know about the Flash. The world's going to know about Cyborg. The world's going to know about Aquaman. They're going to know about these people, because they'll have to stand proud and tall before the world. So for this trilogy of movies to happen, Wonder Woman had to have concealed herself for that period of time. She had to leave mankind. She couldn't declare herself to mankind like she was doing in the World War I film Wonder Woman. You notice she actually concealed herself and moved amongst mankind. She took Steve Trevor's advice and she assimilated into mankind as if she was one of them, as Clark Kent was doing until he was declared Superman by General Zod. General Zod revealed him and he had to declare himself to the world. So you have to have continuity in these things for Justice League to work. Justice League is not going to work if you're saying that Wonder Woman doesn't, that what was written in Batman v Superman doesn't make sense and it doesn't fit in. Now the haters and detractors of Zack Snyder would love it to work that way. But we all know that Wonder Woman fits in with Batman v Superman, and it actually follows. And with all due respect to Gal Gadot, who should know the character really, really well, with all due respect to her, I believe she misunderstood when she said she left mankind. She walked away from mankind. She walking away from mankind in that script was not saying that she abandoned mankind. It means she walked away to leave man to their devices. But she would do her part. which is why Patty Jenkins, how the film is written by Heinberg at the end of the Wonder Woman film, it fits in with what Zack Snyder and company and Chris Terrio were doing with Wonder Woman at the beginning of the inception. So when Gal says she's being honest when she thinks that they're retconning Wonder Woman, I think that Gal may have actually not fully actualized or understood the character and what Zack and Chris Terrio was trying to strive towards. Maybe the wording's a little bit subject to interpretation, but there's another interpretation to it, and I think it follows and flows much more smoothly, which is if she says she left mankind to their devices or she walked away from mankind, it simply explains why we don't see Wonder Woman declaring herself to the world like Superman did. We don't see Wonder Woman as a savior to the world like Superman was. Okay? And that would explain why you don't hear about Wonder Woman until Batman v Superman at the end of it. And then we go into her story. That's the only way it has to work. It can't be that Wonder Woman, because she didn't abandon mankind, it means that she, if Gal is so correct in what she's saying, in other words, then we would know about Wonder Woman. Okay? Obviously she cares about mankind. But in Batman v Superman, obviously because she fought alongside Batman. She actually fought against Doomsday alongside Batman. So clearly she cared about mankind. But what we find out is this, that Wonder Woman, even when you listen to her talk about, that's continuous with Justice League, where she talks about, suppose they don't want to be found, when Batman was saying they need to be found. And she says, suppose they don't want to be found, these metahumans, right? And that's congruent with Batman v Superman, because we see Aquaman does not want to be found, does not like Batman, does not trust Batman, okay? Whereas there's the flip side to that, where when Flash is discovered, Flash at first he doesn't want to be found, okay? But then when he realizes it's Batman, he flips the script and then he's like, oh, shoot, you don't have to tell me no more, I'm in, right? So even Cyborg, he doesn't really want to be found, right? So my point being this, that Wonder Woman was correct again, and it flows from Batman v Superman. And I do believe Justice League, even with Joss Whedon's inputs with the dialogue between the characters and stuff, I see some of the stuff that Joss Whedon did there. Even with that, I think it's going to be, again, congruent with Batman v Superman. So for all those people who are negative towards Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman, which I don't think anybody was negative to Batman v Superman, except for a few people who were talking about Gal's rendition being wooden or whatever. And then when we see Gal and Wonder Woman, they say, well, she's, stark contrast to Batman v Superman, which is not true at all. She actually flows with that. She works out just fine. And you see Wonder Woman in Justice League. You're watching a Wonder Woman. First, you're seeing the early, naive Wonder Woman in Wonder Woman. You see Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman, and you see the suave, the cleverness, the way how she encourages and inspires Batman to change. And then we see that Wonder Woman again in Justice League, and we get to know a little bit more about her. So I think that's what we're seeing. And all that happened is in Wonder Woman, in the actual Wonder Woman film, which is written in Spanish here, Mujer Maravilla, we find that we just get filled in with the blanks about Wonder Woman. That's all. Again, I don't know who's trying to detract or hate or whatever, but I will be very clear with you that Patty Jenkins' vision matched up with Zack Snyder's vision. If their visions didn't match up, you were not getting a Wonder Woman film, okay? But because Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder, they meshed together so well, and even if you listen to Zack Snyder's explanation of Wonder Woman and Deborah Snyder's explanation of Wonder Woman and what Patty Jenkins was bringing to the table, and even hear Zack Snyder say, oh yeah, there's going to be a sequel for Wonder Woman. It's clear that Zack Snyder's vision for Wonder Woman and his understanding of Wonder Woman was directly in line with what Patty Jenkins' vision for Wonder Woman was. And that's why Warner Brothers actually greenlighted it. Of course, Patty Jenkins had some say, and Jeff Johns had some say in how Wonder Woman character was portrayed. But by and large, I do believe it's Zack Snyder's story they used. Very much like Justice League. The only thing I'm saying about Justice League is I'm seeing them touching up Justice League a little too much. Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns. Y'all need to tone it down. You know what I'm saying?